Politics is a vehicle to bring forth leaders who must manage the affairs of this country objectively, impartially, and without fear or favor, but not to engage in politics 24 hours every day. And this is the misfortune of our country. President Museveni ends a campaign, he starts the next one. And therefore everything he does is about elections. Everything he does is about survival. Everything he does is about undermining the opposition. And those who could work with him collectively, like they do in America, they do in Britain, they even do in other countries like Rwanda. And they have succeeded. Go and see what Rwanda has achieved, in spite of their background.
All right,
but I think that what Professor Latigo, what he's saying is right. But you must ask why. Why do we do politics all the time? In my opinion, and the reason that we are strong on our ideology of taking power away from the center to the regions is because the over-centralization of power creates that need to, power is so centralized that the leaders focus on how to keep that power. And that's what creates the vicious circle of politics all the time.
No,
can we look at...
No,
that's a long debate, obviously.
Yeah, but let me just say this, that it is not about centralization. It's possessing power.
Because there's only one center of power.
That is different.
If there were many power centers.
That is different, because in Rwanda there's a president who is without regions. In Ghana there are presidents without the kind of regions that we are striving for. I agree with you.
Yeah, but they haven't been challenged yet. When you get challenged, then your focus becomes on how to
get challenged. That is a better agenda.
Mr.
UB3
Mukono says, why did the Federalists not support you? I think their problem is they thought, in their view, it's a matter of approach. Their approach is that you need somebody to remove Museveni.
Yes.
First, they thought that Museveni is the problem, and that you need someone to remove Museveni, then that someone will give you what you want. Our approach is different, that we need to go to the people and mobilize them to vote for an ideology. So for them, they are more person-oriented. We are ideology-oriented.
Okay,
it's a different approach.
Aisha Commander.
Aisha asked an interesting question. Of the two devils, if we had a rerun, who would you go with?
The two devils. I mean, I don't know why you chose
those were Aisha's.
Those were our words.
Those were her words.
All right.
They're not my words.
I'll prefer to water them down, but let's use them in parentheses.
Of the two devils.
Go on.
I think I would go with the devil who would be moving the federal agenda forward. You know, the devil who would accept or agree to move the federal agenda forward. It's not about individuals, Aisha. I don't mind working with anybody. I only focus on the issue, on the ideology, or on the matter beforehand. I can work with any devil. I can work with any devil as long as the devil is moving in my direction.
You know their agenda. Who of the two seems closer to that agenda?
FDC seems
the one
closer.
With a heart or the one without a heart? You use figures of speech tonight.
Figures of speech.
Yes.
FDC, of course, is closer to the agenda. The problem is, of course, I have many. There are many gaps.
I think you've answered that question. Can I ask you another question before we have just about 4 minutes?
Yeah, sure.
Will the opposition unite ahead of 2016? Do you think, if Museveni is running again?
I think Professor Latigo handled that. People uniting to fight Museveni for me is one thing, but when you have different ideologies, that's why we did not join ICP, because I just can't unite to fight a person. I unite for an ideology. Even ours is an alliance of federalists.
Right.
And we have got people from NRM, DP, FDC, UPC. Those are the people who form Uganda Federal Alliance. We unite around an ideology. Uniting around a person, I find it...
Well, you see, the problem, and unfortunately, Betty Kamia makes the same emphasis that the NRM do, that the opposition unite to fight President Museveni.
Yes.
We are fighting for power.
Yes.
You cannot, Edmond, I will not come and wrestle you. You don't have the power.
Yes.
The person who has the power is obviously our target because he has the power. It's like playing rugby. You don't tackle somebody who doesn't have a ball.
The ball, yes.
And therefore, it should not be mistaken that when we tackle President Museveni, we are going for the person. We are going for the ball, and he's holding the ball. And it is a very legitimate targeting of the person.
Yeah, but we have seen what has happened in the past. People who fought for power got the power and fought immediately after getting the power. We have seen it happen in 62, it happened in 79, it happened after 1886. People just fighting to get rid of a person, they fight themselves.
No, let's get that clearly. When people fight to get rid of an individual, they end up finding themselves.
When they don't have an ideology that binds them.
Because there's no ideology that binds them.
Yeah, they're just fighting to get rid of a person. When they get rid of him, they have no conversation.
Okay, let's talk about something. That's probably a deep debate.
Yeah.
UB3 Mukono mentioned it. He says maybe the two big bulls, let's borrow that word, should leave the scene before we can have a fair election among smaller people, maybe smaller in quotes. How influential, Honorable Kami, let's pick on your political analyst per side. How influential will the opposition section in Parliament be, the new Parliament that's coming?
Well, I mean, it's so lopsided. It's even worse than...
Well, you have the numbers, but you have some people in the opposition.
At the end of the day, it's about the A's have it. You know, we walked out. Professor Latigo, he sweated, he tried, he said, let's get out. We can't be part of this. We walked out. But even our walking out did not make any impact.
It had big impact.
Yeah.
Yes, let's get
it. Business as usual.
No, you see, it depends on whom you want to influence. When you're walking out, you're not voting.
Yes.
Obviously, your goal is not to win any ballot in Parliament. Your goal must be different. Your goal is to highlight some of the issues. At least we don't see Kiboko squad on the street now.
Yeah, I agree. And
you know, when we walked out, we went to the judiciary, for example. And we went to them, we talked to them. Initially, they were very hostile. When we explained to them, and then this thing happened, the judiciary down their tool for a week. Therefore, the objective, when you're in Parliament, your objective is not confined to Parliament. Parliament is just a component institution of this country. And you deal with it, bearing that in mind, or sometimes even addressing that.
All right. How influential do you think the current opposition in the next Parliament is going to be?
The new Parliament has some very good political leaders coming in. People like Jack Sabiti and many others. Obviously, in terms of numbers, we're reduced.
Yes.
But I've said this publicly.
In terms of strength of voice.
Yes, I've said this publicly as somebody who led the opposition. One of my biggest challenge was the very many young people in the opposition, many of whom were essentially cantankerous. You know, they believed they believed they had arrived. They didn't listen to counsel. And in the end, they became a diversionary thing because you have to deal with them before you deal with the bigger picture.
Right.
I believe that the level of maturity in the opposition now would enable them to act in a more coherent way. And therefore, the potential to deliver as a group is there.
Bidari says this poll was rigged just like in 1980. Do you agree with him?
Maybe the 1980 rigging had some kind of, you know, in my language we call it some element of shame.
In 1980 there was an element of shame.
Yeah, in some places.
And in this election?
This one is blatant.
Honorable Kamia. The same question. Would you agree with Bidandi Sali saying this poll was rigged just like the one of 1980? Would you agree? He wrote to the
Maybe the 1980 was even more sophisticated.
Yeah.
I mean, they made boundaries, constitution.
We've seen this.
Gerrymandering.
They would win.
Yes.
But this one was incredible.
What do you mean?
I mean, the sheer amount of money. I mean, look at what's happening in Rubaga North. Look at what's happening in Kampala.
You know, the recounts.
If that shows...
you know, the recounts.
Yes.
Everybody knows that they clip the ballot boxes, change the ballot, and then tie it back.
In the middle of the night.
Obviously.
It just happens that the people of Kampala were more vigilant. But the managers of the elections are basically the same. The NRM and the Electoral Commission managers of
the security agents.
So basically you're saying that losing an election is not the end of life. You can have a recount and win after that. Well, we have to end on this note. Time is not on our side tonight. Thank you very much to our guests, very distinguished guests. Honorable Betty Namisango Kamia, former presidential candidate from the Uganda Federal Alliance. I've known her for a long time. She's a woman of persuasion. Sometimes I think you're the mother of the opposition. You broke out of the NRM long before people like Winnie Byanyima came out in the very early 90s.
Yeah, I did.
On the record. Thank you for coming on Spectrum tonight.
Some of us never even entered the kraal, so we didn't have to break out.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Professor Morris Oginga-Latigo, Vice President for FDC in charge of Northern Uganda, also leader of the opposition. He was also MP for Agago in near Kitgum.
Still is.
Thank you for tuning in. I've been your host, Edmond Chizito. Spectrum will be back tomorrow. Right now you can hear the news in English and Soul Train thereafter. Stay tuned to Radio 1.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90. Watch it on your PC or cell phone now. On your PC, go to radio1fm90.com. Choose Spectrum Videos. Then choose the Spectrum video that you like to watch. On your cell phone, visit youtube.com. Search for Radio 1 Spectrum. Choose the Spectrum video that you like to watch. To get these directions again, SMS the word Spectrum to 7197. Spectrum on radio1fm90.com.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90 was brought to you by Stanbic Bank.